If you have a dirty, cluttered, uninspiring patio, then this is the video for you. Watch how I turn my patio gazebo from this into this. It was such a fun process. And stick around until the end of the video because I'm going to give you 4 essential tips for how to reclaim cluttered space and turn it into a space that you love. Here is the gazebo and what it looked like. It had become a storage spot for all kinds of different kids' things. And so 2 things I really wasn't happy about. One was all the stuff that had just kind of been thrown in there, tossed in there. And then the other thing I really did not like is this green turf stuff on the floor of the gazebo. So the first thing I did was to remove everything that was inside. And to be perfectly honest, almost everything in there is stuff that we're going to keep. It's not stuff that needs to be tossed, but it does not belong there and it needs to live elsewhere. And so obviously the natural question is, well, where are they going to go? So on the other side of the yard, my husband built a wonderful play structure and there is a good sized area over there for them to play. So any stuff that is kind of kids stuff, it can go right in that part of the yard over there. Okay, this is the turf. It's nasty. And the biggest reason why it's nasty is because the tree that is nearby, we have this beautiful tree in our yard, but it drops needles and those just get stuck right in to the turf and cannot get swept out. And I just hate that. It was stapled down. It was dusty. It had been there for ages. And so it was kind of a mystery as to what was underneath. As I got that pulled up, you could see there's this kind of ancient tar paper that was underneath, I guess tar paper that was underneath the turf. And you can see kind of damaged areas there. Underneath the tar paper was plywood. There's a lot of sweeping in this job. I was constantly sweeping and sweeping and sweeping just all the layers of junk that had built up in this place over time. But you can kind of see in some of the spots there down towards the front, those ripples, that's damaged wood. And so we had to deal with that later. But the first thing I had to do was go through and pull up a ton of staples. And after I got that done, which took some time, I was just kind of going through with a paint scraper thing and lifting up all that tar paper and just removing that. And it was very satisfying actually doing that. It was fun and it didn't take too much time. There were some spots where I really had to scrape quite a bit and use quite a bit of elbow grease to get that up, but it wasn't too bad. And yes, then there was more sweeping, lots more sweeping as I was getting the place cleaned up. But this is what it looked like. And so all of that came up great for the most part. But then I still did have this damaged area in the front. My sweet husband came, that whole front corner was all rotted out. He came with his saw and he cut out the plywood that was damaged. And then he pried it up with a hammer and crowbar, and then he let me have a go at it as well. It was fun, and I kind of got the groove of it after a little while and was able to pull up the wood, and we ended up pulling up this whole section. This is what it looked like after we had pulled up all of the wood in that area. We picked up a piece of OSB at Habitat for Humanity Restore for $10. This is what it looked like after my husband got the OSB installed there. It was not as smooth as the plywood, of course. OSB has a lot rougher surface, but I knew I was going to paint the whole thing, and so I wasn't too worried about the surface looking a little different. Here's me getting up on the roof and not getting up on the roof, getting up on a step stool and sweeping off needles. So many needles that were up on that roof. And it just made an incredible difference, even that simple thing of just sweeping the needles off and getting the roof clean. My kids love sidewalk chalk. Fortunately, it's easy to clean off. I just took a damp rag and wiped down the wood posts and took care of that. Then it was time to paint. The floor was ready. This is how the paint arrived. And so if you're wondering why I'm having a hard time getting it out of the box, it's because the paint kind of dried. It kind of leaked in there in shipping. And so I was having a hard time getting the paint out of the box. It was kind of stuck. This is what it looked like when it finally came out. The label had all kind of ripped off. I will insert a picture that shows the full label because the truth is I loved this paint. It was fantastic. And if you want to use it, I would highly recommend. You may be wondering why I'm not using an extension pole while I'm doing this, and the truth is I just didn't have one, and I didn't want to take the time to go and borrow one. I had a window of time where the kids were napping, and so I took it and just went for it. It's not that large of a space, so it wasn't too bad. I live in a dream. I just had to show one more shot of this because to me it is just so satisfying watching paint go on with a roller. I don't know, there's something about it. So I did 2 coats of paint. This is after the first coat of paint, what it looked like, but I did one more coat for good measure. But again, great coverage. I love this paint. Next step was a rug. I ordered this wonderful rug from Amazon, and I chose a rug that was not a fiber, like fabric rug. It was actually plastic, and the reason why was because of those lovely needles that fall down from the tree in our yard. I needed something that would shake out easily, and anything with fiber or fabric or like a jute rug would just be a nightmare in terms of trying to shake the needles out and keep it clean. So I opted for this one, and I really love it. I also picked up the solar-powered LED string lights. We do not have an electrical outlet outside, and when we have tried stringing lights up there before, we have to run an extension cord, and it's just a huge pain. And so I ordered these lights, and I am just thrilled. They're weatherproof, shatterproof. Well, you can read the whole thing on the side there, but they are just amazing. And so I ordered these from Amazon with the thought of being able to use, they have a solar panel, and so you can just clamp that on wherever you want. And then these are solar powered lights. And so I didn't have to worry about an electrical outlet. And these were just, I mean, you know, if you're going to do a patio space, if you're going to do a gazebo, you got to have lights to really make the space. And so this is how they came. This is a 48-foot string. And then they came with, this little solar panel here. And so I was super excited to open the box and super excited to get them all set up. You'll see in the picture here where I clamped it was not its permanent spot. It was not a great place where I put it originally. I ended up clamping it down lower and it worked great. But I strung these lights up. I already had cup hooks, or there were already cup hooks in the gazebo, and so it was super fast to hang up these lights, and they went up beautifully with no issues. And I was just, super excited and couldn't wait for it to get dark to see how they looked. And now I am so excited to show you the before and after of my patio cleanup, the gazebo makeover. I love how it turned out, and here it is.
have me, and I have you. That's enough to paint lonesome black and blue. Yeah, I have you, and you have me. That puts a bow up in the sky that tells the rain to cease. We've had up, and we've had down. We've had warm nights, and we've gone round and round. What I know, this much is true. There ain't a color in the rainbow that shines like you. So let's carve our names into this.
As promised, I'm going to give you 4 essential tips for how to reclaim a cluttered space and transform it into a space that you love. So tip number 1 is choose a function for the space. Choose what the purpose of that space is going to be. What do you want it for? For the gazebo, I wanted it to be a space where my husband and I could sit and relax and enjoy. I wanted it to be a space that was not cluttered with kids' things and that was kind of completely separate from the area of the yard where the kids play most of the time. And so I went ahead and tackled this project with that in mind. And so it's really important from the start that you are choosing how you want to use that space. And it makes it so much easier when you are decluttering, when you're cleaning, and when you're deciding what you want to bring in, what exactly to do and how to tackle that when you know exactly what you're going for. Tip number 2 is figure out what the friction is. I've talked about this in other videos, but you really want to figure out what is it that is preventing you from using that space in the way that you want to use it. For me, with the gazebo, it was really simple. There was this green, nasty turf that was on there that could not be swept clean because everything got stuck in it. It was just dirty and ugly, and I was just completely uninspired by this turf. And so that was a huge sticking point for me, was figuring out what to do there. And once I got over that hurdle, then things became a lot easier. Tip number 3, and you knew this was coming from me, declutter and clean. Declutter first. Go into that space with the purpose and the function that you have in mind long term. If you know, I want this to be, like for me, a relaxing space for my husband and I to sip a glass of wine in the evening after the kids go to bed, then you're going into that space with that in mind, and it makes it a lot easier to get rid of things that don't belong in that space, to rehome things that belong in another space. You'll notice with the gazebo, I did that a lot. Most of the stuff that I decluttered, I didn't declutter in the sense of getting rid of those things. They were rehomed to other areas. They were things that we wanted to keep, and they went to areas where they actually belonged. If you go into a space and you're looking at it going, oh, this is nasty, it's going to take so much work and it's going to take money, I'm going to have to buy all this stuff to make this what I want it to be. Oftentimes after we've decluttered and then we've cleaned, we realize things were not nearly as bad as we thought. This gazebo I thought of as an eyesore. I just thought it was super ugly, and a lot of it just had to do with how dirty it was and just that I kind of let stuff pile up in there. And once the stuff was out and I began to clean the gazebo up, I was looking at it going, this isn't half bad. And so decluttering and cleaning really just helps you to get a handle on what the space is that you're actually working with and what you're actually going to need to do in that final step to make it what you want it to be. Step number 4 is the fun step, and that is to pull together what you need. So you've decided a function, a purpose for the space. You've figured out what the friction is that is preventing you from using that space in the way that you want, and you have eliminated that friction. You've decluttered the area and you've cleaned everything up. And so now is the fun part, the time to pull together what you need to make this space what you want. So with the cleanup and makeover of our patio gazebo, there were basically 3 things that I needed. One was paint. I knew I wanted to paint the floor. The second thing was a rug. I knew I wanted an area rug to really define the space and make it feel a little bit more cozy and a little bit more put together. And then finally, the hanging lights. Those were the third thing. I picked them up on Amazon. I love them. They are fantastic. So those are the 3 things I bought to really make over the space. The 4th thing we got, which was not a major expense, was the OSB that we used to replace the rotten wood in the front. And then one thing that I didn't buy that I actually borrowed is the patio furniture. But I want to make this point because it's really important. Oftentimes we look at patio furniture new in store and it's like, oh, Maybe someday I'll get patio furniture, you know, but I don't have an extra $800 lying around or whatever. But the fact is that if you look on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, people are selling patio furniture all the time. There were several different sets. As I was making this video, I was watching Facebook Marketplace. There were several different sets I found for very inexpensive that were great sets. I have something pretty particular that I'm looking for, and I didn't quite find it in time to finish up this video, which is why I borrowed the table and chairs. But I just want to encourage you that there is so much out there that is used that just needs maybe a little bit of cleaning up, and it looks great and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for it. So those are my 4 tips for how to reclaim a cluttered space in your home and transform it into a space that you love. I hope this was inspiring for you. If you've liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I make videos on this channel about cleaning, organizing, and homekeeping, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.